Hey everybody, it's Julie. Thanks for joining me today for a Bible journaling process video. I'm using my illustrating Bible from Illustrated Faith in Dayspring, which is now back in stock, at least for a limited time. And then I've printed out this set called New Mercies, New Year, New Mercies, from the Illustrated Faith Print and Pray shop. And this one is by Brave Little Tailor. I've printed it on clear sticker sheets. And some of these elements are nice and large, which work really well in this illustrating Bible. But if you want to print them smaller, you can certainly do that. Just print them on half-size sheets, or if you have a program that can do that, or just your printer options. I'm using that Homespun Alpha stamp set and a few different ink pads. These Stampin'Up pads are actually, these colors are out of print. They're retired. And then those Creative Retreat ink pads are brand new. So I'll have all of those linked in the description box below so you can see what I've used. I've started with this Distress Oxide ink in Right Persimmon, and my favorite method, it's such a quick, easy method, is smushing. So I'm just using some clear packaging. I stamped some of the ink onto the package and wet it and then smushed it. And this just gives some background color. I dried that, and now I'm doing it again. You can get layer upon layer of color and just build your layers. So I dried it, and then I did a second layer. So that gives me a splattering of color. Okay, so I have off screen cut out the elements that I'm going to use, and I'm using some of that leftover ink that's on my packaging to highlight my verses. And I'm here in Isaiah chapter 58 verses 13 and 14, which says, "If you keep from desecrating the Sabbath, from doing whatever you want on my holy day, if you call the Sabbath a delight and the holy day of the Lord honorable, if you honor it, not going your own ways, seeking your own pleasures or talking business, then you will delight in the Lord. And I will make you ride over the heights of the land and let you enjoy the heritage of your father Jacob, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken." So I'm using this set here, and it says, the different pieces says, set aside a day to, and then I've pulled the different pieces that say renew, reflect, worship, rejoice, rest, and pray. That's what keeping the Sabbath honorable and following the Sabbath and making a delight is all about. It's setting aside a day to worship, to pray, to rest, to reflect, to rejoice, to renew. It's about spending time alone with God and doing that personal worship and that personal prayer and that personal reflection and renewing and rejoicing. But it's also about corporate worship and corporate prayer and corporate renewal and reflection. It's about growing closer to God and growing closer to family. It's about relationships. That's how Sabbath can be a delight. When we think of it more as how to build relationships with God and with others, and how to show how we respond out of love with Him, then that's how the Sabbath becomes a delight. And when we respond in delight to the Sabbath and make it a holy day, then He blesses us. So the Sabbath is made for man, not man for the Sabbath. That's what it says in Matthew. So it's a day for us to just grow. So I'm making a big bold title here using the Homespun Alpha stamps. And I'm alternating the colors just to match the colors that are in the various pieces around here. So I'm using the colors that I have on hand. This blue from Stampin'Up is, as I mentioned, it's a retired color, but I have it, so I'm going to use it. This was called Ballet Blue. And then the Creative Retreat colors. These are new Pigment inks, and they are awesome. I love these Pigment inks from Creative Retreat. And the colors I have are, the lighter one is called Waterfall, and the darker one is called Mermaid Teal. And then, of course, that Right Persimmon, which is the Distress Oxide. Now I'm pulling out the Faith Element stamp set from Illustrated Faith, and I'm just using some of those little marks, those texture marks. My struggle in this Bible is to not use all the space. It's so big, and I feel like I have to fill the space. So that's something I'm working on personally, is remembering I don't have to fill up this whole big space. It's such a big canvas, and that's the temptation. So I'd go big here. It's kind of a loud page. So I added some black splatter paint, and now I'm going to start sticking my elements on. Now I decided to keep this girl on some white cardstock because I didn't want her to turn orange. She would have turned orange if I kept her just on the sticker sheet because it was clear. And so I put her on some white cardstock, and then I cut that out. And so that gives her some more opacity, makes her less see-through. And now I'm just trying to place those where I want them. I'm going to have them just kind of spraying out from her, circling all around her, because the Sabbath encircles us with all of these benefits when we honor the Sabbath and when we keep it holy. So I'm adding these little floral elements, these floral pieces. Notice how I'm hanging them off the edge, and then I trim that. It just really helps with the aesthetics, with the eye appeal. And now you can use the extra pieces that you've cut off and then use them in other places too. So, but here you see I let it go too quickly and it got stuck. And these pages I have found when you try to pull something up, they will tear. So I'm going to fix that. I'm going to have to put some washi tape and the tab. That's where I'm going to have to put my tab. Might not have intended to put it there, but now I'm going to have to. But that's okay, because it works out. So I'm just pulling out some of my elements and different tabs that I have on hand to see what I can use. And I decide to punch out, because I've pretty much gone through most of my black and white tabs. And I think I need some black to help anchor all this color. So I just punched out from some black and white cardstock. And now I'm looking for a word fetty. And I found a perfect one. It says, "Keep it holy." So I'm using that. That's from the Basics word fetty set. And I think that came in the Genesis kit. I will check. I'll see if I can find a link for it. I know it's not on the Illustrated Faith, the Dayspring website, but it might be in the Genesis kit. So you can get it with the Genesis kit, maybe not separately. So now I'm using this black and white washi strip, and I'm just anchoring down some pieces. And you can see, because she's kind of floating there, so I'm adding that to give her a little bit of a foundation. I'm going to underline my verses. And I do think that I need to outline my letters here, make them pop out and pop off the page a little bit, especially that B, because it was a little fuzzy around the edges. That the pigment ink, not the pigment, the Distress Oxide ink doesn't stamp quite as well on these stamps as the others. So I'm just fixing some things, adding little bullet dots. Don't know if I needed to do it. I'm going to come back in now with a darker pen. It was just a little too light. So instead of the 35, I'm coming in with a 0.65, and that works better. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to add a little bit more of the black washi tape, black and white washi tape at the bottom, and date stamp my page. I didn't leave myself room for journaling here. That's the problem. So I've got to figure out the balance with these big new pages. How do I, just not go too crazy with all this space? But I'll figure it out. So thanks for joining me. That's the page. Look in the description box for all the products that I've used, and leave any comments or questions in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, even though I messed up a bunch of things, and come back and join me. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.